tonight's topic is how and why I became a Mexican resident, and it's going to share some truths about Mexico from my perspective as a Black woman, including my journey to residency and why I chose Mexico as my second home. And so we're just going to get into, I think we'll start with the why first as it relates to um, my decision. So we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna cover the hows as the how it happened and what had to happen as well, but we'll save that for the second part. So let's start with the why. So I've always had a liking, a deep passion for Mexico as a country. I've been traveling there since my 20s. Usually it was just, for the typical vacation time. If it was a week, if it was 2 weeks, no, usually wasn't 2 weeks, but a week or 10 days, depending on the holidays. Cancun was one of my favorite places. And so that was always in my mind. Secondly, I took Spanish from like fifth grade all the way through college. So in my 20s, I was conversational in Spanish. And one of my professors in college informed us that if we did not move someplace that Spanish was the native language, we would lose the language. And there was never any pressure as to where, but just go someplace where you could spend at least 6 months, preferably a year, just speaking Spanish with the locals and the natives. And of course, I didn't. Uh-oh, is something happening? Connection. Yes, hopefully the connection is okay. I may need to switch this to, I don't know why. I know the weather's kind of windy out there, but anyway. Um, oh, thank you. You can hear me? Perfect. I hope. Hey, Bria, thank you so much for letting me know. Um, so as I was saying, I did not take her advice. I did not continue to speak Spanish, and I ultimately lost the ability to have conversations. Now I can still pretty much read Spanish, and I know, the basic phrases and the basic words, but Mexico was someplace that I thought about going for that 1 year to, you know, keep the language going. I never did that. And even when I went to go visit, I didn't immerse myself in the culture really. I always stayed at like a resort or a hotel. And then, of course, we were hanging out, we were partying, but we had, a group, and we were not really trying to do the immersive type of vacation when I went to Cancun. I've also been to Mexico City. I've been to Cabo San Lucas, and most recently, I've been spending time in Guadalajara, and always found something new. And did I say Puerto Vallarta? Cozumel, and of course, since I've been going back, like places like Isla Mujeres, to Tulum. Um, Puerto Morelos and all of that. So I've spent time in Mexico, and I've always had a kinship. I felt connected to the cities that I visited. Now, that's not to say there were other places there were definitely other places I saw myself as possibly, oh, maybe I could live here. Like Thailand was one place, and um, Dubai, like that was someplace else, in Amsterdam. So there were places that I would visit and be like, oh, I kind of like it here. But with Mexico, I don't know, it was just something, I guess, since I was in my early 20s that I just really thought maybe, right? And so fast forward, so I always knew I wanted to spend more time in another country, but it wasn't until, the year of 2020 when the world, flipped around, and I really started thinking like, you know, this ain't it. This, living in an urban environment in a metropolitan city. I don't know. I don't think this is really, for me. So as we're all stuck on, the internet, I am, getting connected to people who have moved abroad. So I personally knew some people that during that time frame they moved to Tulum temporarily, and they were living their best lives. It was like the world was still open, where every place else it wasn't. I knew some people who had been in other parts of Mexico, and I was like, oh wow, it's not saying they weren't affected at all, but I was like, oh, they seem to be handling this a little bit better. And so one of the gentlemen that was part of my travel family, John Robert, the John Robert on all social media. He partnered with a yacht company in Tulum, and there was just a great group of expats that were, just singing all the praises about that part of Mexico. And I would see them go to, different parts of the Quintana Roo, parts of Mexico. So that was also something that stuck in my head. Then lo and behold, I came across a woman named Stephanie Perry, who she teaches, well, she has, her group is called the Exodus Summit, and she caters to Black women who want to move abroad or take a sabbatical abroad. And one of the videos that she did was called, it was called Boycott Winter, or How to Boycott Winter, or something like that. And that sent all types of bells and whistles going off. Like I truly was, that video connected to me on a whole spiritual level. And I'm like, something, winters, I'm over them. Especially since 2020, it's like I don't want to feel like I'm stuck in the house for 4 months, 5 months out of the year because of the temperature. Plus, it gets dark, so early, and people aren't really outside like that anymore. And so I was like, something, I'm about to boycott winter. So before winter came, I said, let me, scout some places that I can boycott winter, right? So in May of 2022, I decided to take a trip to Playa del Carmen, but an extended trip. So I decided to stay for at least 5 weeks. I wanted to really immerse myself in the culture. I knew Cancun was a very familiar place for me. Cancun is only a 35-minute drive, no traffic, from Playa del Carmen. I said I had already knew people who were in Tulum. Tulum just looked a little too small for me, coming from New York. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Playa del Carmen. Best decision ever. um, there was some, definitely there was some hiccups along the way, meaning my first Airbnb was just total, not what it was proclaimed to be. It wasn't horrific, but there were certain things like the sliding glass door didn't close all the way, which led to mosquitoes coming in the apartment. It wasn't, this was new to me. Like it wasn't described that you can't flush toilet paper down the toilet. And there were other places that you could. So anyway, the first apartment that I went to was a little bit disappointing, but in a week, I found a realtor, found another rental, and that was perfect. And you know what? I'm going to do a video of the different housing types that I stayed in Mexico. So anyway, stayed for just over 5 weeks, had an amazing time, met some really amazing people, both men and women, because even though, the Exodus Summit, it's catering to women, I'm one of those people. I want my men to come. I want the women to come. I have, raised with two brothers. I like the yin and the yang. I'm all about the different energy. So met some really cool people in Playa del Carmen, did not want to leave, even though it was getting super hot by this time, but did not want to leave. But I was like, okay, I may have found home. I truly may have found home. But I still wanted to explore some other places. So I knew I was going to boycott winter coming up. But since I'd already spent 5 weeks in Playa del Carmen, I was like, let me try someplace else. Found a great community, expat community in Guadalajara, a great Black expat community online in Guadalajara. Things just worked itself out. Um, one of the sisters that's in that group, she was taking an extended vacation to Vietnam and was renting out her apartment, which was in a perfect part of town. And I just was like, this is it. This is I'm supposed to be in Guadalajara. Go to Guadalajara. Um, Really, really liked Guadalajara. Now, there were some things that I didn't like, more so than Playa del Carmen, but what I could envision, like spending part of my time in Playa del Carmen and part of the time in Guadalajara. I canceled Mexico City off the list. I just think the city's too busy, too many people, 19 million people, traffic. Even though there's lots of things to do, like as a New Yorker, been there, done that. So I have no desire to do that on a long-term basis in another city. I was looking for something definitely slower, but not too slow where you have absolutely nothing to do. So Playa del Carmen and Guadalajara check those boxes. I did go to Puerto Vallarta as well, and I just don't like the Pacific Beach. I just don't like the sand. I don't like the coolness of the water versus the Caribbean Sea, which is where Playa del Carmen is. And so I marked that. That was not an option for me. And so when I came back from Guadalajara in 2023, so right, I boycotted winter in 2022 to 2023. Um, and I'm skipping a little something because I actually got my residency there. Anyway, I had fell in love with two places where I could see myself, calling home, as I bop around different cities in Mexico, because that is also my goal. I don't plan to just stay still. I want to spend a little bit of time here, a little bit of time exploring this place. I want to spend some time in Oaxaca. Like there's different places I want to spend time. And so that is why um, the trip to Stephanie Perry's Boycott Winter reignited me thinking about where do I want to go where it's warm. Mexico rose to the top of that list. I then spent 5.5 weeks in Playa del Carmen, came back, and I'll insert the video here that I talk about my whole journey, or the recap of my journey to getting residency. And I talk more about that whole experience too. But anyway, so that is how I landed on getting residency. Now, when I came back from Playa del Carmen, it was still on my mind like, okay, I do want to go back, but I don't want to think about how many days they're going to stamp my passport for. So once you enter a country, it is up to the immigration officer to decide how much time. There's a max amount of time they can give you, but that doesn't mean they are going to give you that max amount of time. So Mexico was known to give up to 180 days. But there were also people that got 7 days or 14 days, and you would have to leave the country after that amount of time. And so I was like, something, I'm not really, talking retirement right now. But, I kept hearing about this residency thing from the people, that I was hanging around, or people that I would be in communication with online. And I'm like, you know what, let me investigate this some more. So I came back in June from Playa del Carmen. And in July, I made up my mind. I'm like, I'm going for this residency. Well, it was, I thought I started researching, the residency. And then one day I woke up on August 1st of 2022. I decided, it's like I woke and it was like, do what you need to do to get this residency. And that's exactly what I did. That morning, I signed up for my appointment at the consulate here in New York, even after reading horrific reviews about the treatment, even hearing people who got denied. And that's all in the recap video that I said I was going to post. But if I would have listened to these people, I probably would have spent way more money going to another consulate to try to get my residency, one that they say is easier. So that means I would have had to fly to Atlanta, fly to New Orleans, fly to Texas, places where they say it was easier to get your residency. But I said, you know something, let me just give it a try. The worst they can do is say no. And if they say no, then I'll, proceed to plan B. Well, August 1st, I wake up, had to be online at 8:30 to try to secure an appointment. Keep in mind, I put no paperwork together. I went over the requirements, but I still wasn't, I wasn't ready. But I said, if I get an appointment, I will get ready. Lo and behold, I got an appointment for that Wednesday. I was trying for that Thursday to give me more time, but as soon as I tried to click the appointment, it was gone and there were no more appointments for that Thursday. The only appointments were for Wednesday. So I selected Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, so now I got to really get into go mode. I have to get all my paperwork together. And so this is the how, right? And let me just say one more thing about the why. I knew the cities that I wanted to be in, had to check off certain boxes. And let me just quickly go through those boxes. 1, it had to be mostly warm. 2, it had to be a walkable city. 3, it had to have a community of diverse expats. You don't have to be all Black, but you definitely have to be an ally. And you definitely have to be, just a part of a good community. And so that was like the number 4. So warm, walkability, community, and quality of life. I needed to know that the quality of life there would meet my needs, right? So fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. I'm not the weird thing is Mexican food is not my favorite food. Definitely, probably, maybe not even in the top 5, but the place that I needed to live had to have different cuisines, different options. I'm allergic to avocado. I don't eat like sour cream. There's just, a bunch of restrictions that are, that I have when it comes to food. And most of those restrictions are part of Mexican cuisine. So I needed someplace that had options for food. And so, yeah, so those were my criteria. That was my criteria when it came to the why I was going to pick a particular city. And let me quickly introduce myself because I didn't even do that. And we're a few minutes in. We're 20 minutes in. And if you're watching this on, at a later date, fast forward, put it on, not fast forward, put this on like 1.5 to, listen, because this is going to be a little in depth. I'll probably do a part 2 just to go over the application process, because that's a whole nother 30, 40-minute video in and of itself. But I will go over the criteria that you need to become a resident. So, anyway, I am Kim, aka Kim with the Gems. On this channel, we talk all things wellness, travel, and finances as it relates to our culture and from a Black woman's perspective. The goal here is to inform, drop gems, aka Kim with the Gems, that will help us succeed, get to the next level, do all the things we want to do, and do it without apology, right? Do it unapologetic. And so if you can do me a favor, go ahead, like this video. If it's, informative, subscribe to the channel. Also, forward this information to someone in your network that may benefit from this information. I'm trying to get more of us to have that plan B option, whether it's Mexico or any place else in the world. Have a second home, have some place to go to if and when, and I'm likely to say when, things get too heavy, too much to deal with, too much to bear. We can build community. We've always been building community other places. If you know about the Renaissance in Paris, from James Baldwin to Langston Hughes and so many other, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but we've always been building community other places, and now should be no different. And so please, if you have any questions about my experience, please add them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer. And there will also be other resources in the description, so check those out when you get a chance. And so, yeah, let's get back into the application or the process. For me, the proximity of Mexico was the final determining factor. I wanted someplace that was drivable if I needed to cross a border without getting on a plane. You know, we have these shutdowns of the airline, not just the airlines, but the air traffic control that has been happening. And if there's any need to get to or from Mexico or the US, there's always the land borders, right? Or ship, right? So it's just easier for me to get to and from the US, and I still need to do that. And so Mexico being a border country just made it was either Mexico or Canada, and Canada is just too cold. Too cold for my taste. So before I go into the actual experience of getting my residency, let's talk about the top reasons why people want to apply for residency in Mexico. And there's so many different reasons, but the most popular ones I'm going to go over right now. One, if you intend to retire there, it just makes sense. You don't want to have to worry about your visa expiring and you having to leave the country for a certain amount of time to come back in. Two, if you tend to own a house or intend to buy a house, you have to be a resident. You cannot just be a tourist and come in and secure property in Mexico. So if that is part of your goal to own real estate, there's some videos out of people who have gotten their residency, they bought property and they Airbnb them out. Most of them claim to make a lot of money. I've heard the opposite as well. You just definitely have to be very knowledgeable of the laws. And if you don't speak the language, you can definitely be scammed. Also, if you live in Mexico part of the year and don't want the hassle and risk of using a visitor's permit for your, stays. So again, if you don't want to have to worry about leaving the country, how many days you're going to get on your visa. And it's not like you could argue with the immigration officer. If he decides to give you a month, but you book your return flight for 2 months later, it is what it is. And you could risk overstaying your visa, but again, you're breaking the law if you do that. So it's more safe. You're not breaking the laws if you are a resident. You don't have to, leave after a certain amount of time. If you intend to make significant change in your life and your work, so meaning if there's some type of employment that brings you to Mexico that would require residency, then that's another reason why people choose to get their residency. And so, yeah, those are the top reasons, and mine falls more in the line of to live there for now, part of the year, and don't want the hassle and the risk of using, or overextending my visitor's visa. And eventually I do want to, retire is not a word I like to use a lot, but I do want to spend more time there as I age, right? And not necessarily have to come to the US to work or even worry about, employment. Okay, so back to my experience and the steps that I took to get the residency. In summary, I don't know that I would recommend this method to anyone who is not focused and intentional and about their business when it comes to putting your paperwork together, because I got literally no sleep for 2 days, maybe a couple hours here, a couple hours there. But once I got the appointment for that Wednesday, like I said, it was go time and I had to gather all of the documents required. I had to print out documents, the applications. I had to make sure all of the required, oh, I had to get pictures taken, which I did that Tuesday. So I had one day to go get passport size pictures taken, that were a requirement as well. So I literally spent, out of the 48 hours, I'm going to say 39 hours working on getting my documents together. And so, um, again, if you have more time, then go ahead and do it. I like to just, I just don't like having things like that weighing over my head. Like, I'd rather work under pressure than to, you know, wait a couple weeks, few weeks, or, have to think about it. So, anyway, so okay, so I print out everything and here comes the appointment on Wednesday. The appointment on Wednesday was at 8:30 in the morning. It was the first appointment, and like I said, it was the New York Consulate, which has horrible reviews. Actually, I'm going to pull it up. I'm just going to show you what the reviews look like real quick. Actually, they've gotten better, so I can't say that they're all bad. They're not all good, but what I do want you to do is, when you decide to visit a consulate, you can read what the people are saying, but know that with Google, people and a lot of sites, people will only leave comments when they've had a horrible experience. If they had a good experience, they're less likely to leave comments. So use what they're saying with a grain of salt. Like I said in my other video, if um, if you dot your I's and cross your T's, you probably will have a good experience. The people that I've read that had the worst experience, it wasn't because of the consulate. I'm going to say 95% of the time, it's because they didn't follow the rules and regulations, and each consulate is different. So, one consulate in Texas may require this information, and a consulate in New Orleans may require a different type of information. If you brought the information to the consulate in Texas that New Orleans required, then whose fault is that? It's bureaucracy. You have to pay attention. And so many people, hey, just saying, many people don't follow the rules or don't dot the I's and cross the T's. And then they get mad because they didn't get approved, right? And so let's just quickly go over. I want to show you what the if you want to search a consulate, or how you should search the consulate. But again, only New York City, Mexican, sorry, consulate. There we go. Only take the information with a grain of salt, because people will people, as I like to say. So let me share my screen. Where's the consulate? Okay. Oh, 1 second. Wrong window. New York City Consulate, Mexico. There we go. Okay, let's try this again. Share screen. We'll present, share screen, New York City Consulate, share. It's just too many steps for this. Oh my gosh. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to add this to the stage, and then we're going to just review what they are saying. So I don't know if you can see this, but it's a 3.2 out of 5 stars with 1,800 plus reviews. Let's just quickly go through the reviews. And then I like to sort by newest and just read, some of the things that people are saying. So a week ago, if this problem of immigration was not there, why would not the consulates of Mexico and other Latin American countries, help the people described by the cities that are in help. Yeah, that's a lot. I don't know what happened. But then here, look, somebody put very good service, and that was a week ago. Then another a week ago, somebody else said the workers calling the people who are going to process documents are ignorant and treating the people like garbage. Terrible, they are terrible. Okay. Um, then there's somebody else 2 weeks ago. Listen, see, this is the type of I arrived earlier than the appointment time. That was me. That was me. My appointment was 8:30. I was there at 7:30 and they attended to me. Now they couldn't attend to me till 8:30 because the place didn't open till 8:30, but the security guard was nice enough to escort me in the building and let me sit in like a conference room instead of standing outside. This person went to renew their passport and it took a total well, took it in total, it took, excuse me, an hour and a half for delivery. It was fast and with good attention. Now, I left a really good review, but again, this was back in 2022. I want to make an appointment for my passport and you do not answer me at the number that appears. No, you can't call. You're not allowed to call. So that's what I mean by people not paying attention. The New York office, you cannot call. You have to do everything online. And then somebody else said, and this again, this is 3 weeks. I'm not going to read all of them, but this is the best thing to do just to see what the people are saying, but don't make all your decisions based on that. Look for the good reviews and then also try to be the first one. Try to be the first one at the consulate and the odds of you having a better day. I always say places like government bureaucracies, the later in the day that it gets, the more attitude people gets because they're dealing with the public and people, are emotional beings and things can happen. But if you try to get there early and, be at least the first or the second, the chances of you having a good experience are greater than if you came later. And so I got there Wednesday, had my appointment, had more than enough documents. And I say this in my other video. I rather have and not need than to need and not have. So I had duplicates. I had a personal statement letter talking about my love for Mexico and how often I've been. And even if you haven't been often, you could say, like, I've watched, so many documents. Do your research. I love Frida Kahlo. I always mess up her name, but do your research. You have had to have at least visited, I think, once in the last 5 years or something like that. But I had a personal statement letter. She didn't really care about that. But I did have, what else did I have? Oh, I'm a notary, so I shared that, I'm a New York State commissioned officer. Like, I just tried to give as much information to stack the odds in my favor. And I also do consultations where I share the entire list of secrets of what to bring just in case you get somebody that wants to give you a hard time about your intent or anything like that. There's ways to circumvent that and conversations to ease their resistance. And so I learned a lot of this from people that I did research basically. So there were a lot of people that had either blogs or sites or whatever that gave hidden gems, and I tried to implement all of them. And yes, it took about an hour for the interview, and they took my passport. I thought I was going to get a yay or nay that day. But they were like, not today. Come back next Wednesday. You could come back anytime between 8:30 and 1:30, I want to say. And I don't need an appointment. I was defeated. I was like, what does this mean? Do they have to go, review? Did she have to escalate my paperwork? I didn't know what was going on. And you'll see that in the video too. I was a little depressed about that. But the good news is when I went back that next Wednesday, I was approved. I was approved. I got there super early again because I didn't want to, like I said, the later you go, the more things that can, it's just like flights, right? If you take the first flight out, the chances of your flight leaving on time are much greater than if you take a 4 p.m. flight out, because delays can happen all throughout the day. So it's the same with these type of situations. If you're going to a government agency, just try to be one of the first people there so you don't get caught up in whatever that day can bring. So I got approved. I was super excited about that. That's also in my, so I'm going to leave the playlist in the description. And I highly recommend. Oh, so that was just part one, right? So you get approved in the consulate here in the States. Then to finalize your residency, you have to go back to Mexico, and you have to go back within 180 days. So they give you 6 months. Well, they say 6 months to enter the country. If you don't enter Mexico within those 180 days, then your visa is invalid, which this is your residency visa. This is just not a tourist visa. It's invalid, and you have to start the process all over again. The price when I got, I only had to pay $48 for the residency visa. It's up to $53 now. And I don't know what it's going to be. They haven't listed if there's going to be an increase in 2025. But that's still, still 53. And you can only pay in cash in the New York office. Other offices, I know, and you know what, that may have changed, but I heard last year you could still only pay in cash. Other offices, you could pay debit card, whatever. I think just debit card. I don't think credit card. So again, knowing your consulate before you appear, because if you don't have the cash and exact change, like if you have $50, they'll be like, no, you got to go and come back. And if we can see you, we'll see you. But be prepared. We have to have $48. That was another tip. And I was there when somebody did not have 40. They had like a $100 bill. No, they had 20s. So they had $60. And the lady was like, you got to go find change. And if we can see you, if I'm not busy, then I'll see you. So anyway, so that's just another nugget that I like to share. Just dot your I's, cross your T's. I can't get any, more simpler than that. Dot your I's, cross your T's. So this is where my challenge began. So I had to get back to Mexico within 180 days. I told you guys that I went to Guadalajara to boycott winter. That was where I was going to get residency. And the challenge was, the day I was supposed to leave, I got sick that week. I could not leave. I had to delay my trip. It was during the holidays, so you could only imagine there was things going on. And so even though I made it into Mexico within the 180 days, and I was able to get to the immigration office, the appointment they scheduled me was outside of the 180-day window. I didn't know that was going to be a problem. They saw all my paperwork. I'm thinking, okay, fine, I'm going to be here for a while, so it's all good. Well, it wasn't all good. Nope, it wasn't all good at all. And mind you, I'm doing this myself. I did this whole process DIY with only really being able to read some Spanish, speak very basic phrases. And I decided to do this myself. I said, if I'm going to be a resident of a country, I want to know what the bureaucracy is like. I want to know, like, if I can navigate through this system or learn how to navigate through the system, and also, practice my Spanish. Had I known that the immigration office, the reason why it took so long for me to get my appointment, because once you get to immigration, you have to set up another appointment. Well, this was in Guadalajara. Other immigration offices, you could do it the same day, but Guadalajara, they were scheduling appointments. Usually the appointments wouldn't be so delayed, but I didn't know that the offices in Mexico, in Guadalajara, mostly all of Mexico, closed for like 2 weeks for the holidays. So from let's just say December 15th to January 3rd, the immigration offices were closed. There was a backlog of appointments that were needed. And so my appointment remember, it would have expired January 10th. Wait, August, September, October, November, December, February 10th. Sorry, February 10th. My appointment was for like February 18th, which I was fine with because I don't have no, I'm boycotting winter, right? So I was good with that. Um, I didn't know that I needed to have that appointment before um, February 10th. So when I come to my appointment, all paperwork is correct. I paid, I gave the money to pay because you have to pay. And I'll go over the cost and everything in another video because I'm going to try to wrap this up within the next couple of minutes. Um, but when I went to go pay, the lady comes back and she's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, what are you talking about? The card works. Like, she's like, no, no, no. I can't, no, no card. Like no card, no carte. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so she's not really saying much else. It's just she's shaking her head. Lo and behold, someone helped me out with the language, and because she then started speaking super duper fast. And he was saying that they had to send my documents off to the main government agency because technically my visa expired. I was technically on an expired visa. But I'm thinking, I did everything I was supposed to do. You should not have given me an appointment. They had to write all this information down, like when the day that I got my visa, the day this is all on a document. So unfortunately, well, luckily, I still ended up getting my visa, but I didn't get it for almost 3 weeks. No, it took two and a half weeks. No, March 1st. So whatever that was. So it was March 1st that I ultimately got my visa when I thought I was going to walk out that same day with the visa. And so word to the wise, just I would not recommend going to finalize your visa during major holidays. I heard that, well, last year they shortened the time that the offices will be closed, but that could change this year. Like there's a new president. Who knows? And it could change next year. So they really take the Christmas holiday season very serious. And even if the offices are open, you better believe those people don't want to be there. They don't want to be there. And it's probably a limited staff. So I would recommend you trying to stay away from the holidays. And yeah, wow, I don't know what you were wowing, but let's say 850. But it was a wow situation. But definitely stay away from the holidays and look up what the Mexican holidays are, because there are holidays that they have, and I mentioned this in a video, I think it was yesterday, that we don't have. So make sure you know those holidays, because government agencies will be closed and you don't want to be there when there's a backlog, when there's a problem. But I do want to quickly, before we log off, if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. Please like this video. And like I said, turn on the notification bell. We're coming back tomorrow with another live. I have a couple topics. I'm not certain what that's going to be, but I'll share it between tonight and tomorrow. But I do want you to see the requirements for Mexican residency right now. And it usually changes I think we'll find out about it either in December or the top of the year. And so, you know what? Let's go to the consulate. That's what we'll do. We'll go to the consulate's website page and pull up exactly the process to find the application and what they're saying are the requirements right now. So we're going to go to the consulate page. And then go to the website and then just quickly go through what the requirements are. So yep. Okay. You can see it. Perfect. Okay. I'm glad you got it, Kevin. Perfect. Let's just quickly go through this page, and I'm gonna do this probably in like 2 minutes. So give me 2 minutes, and if I could get back, there we go. So let's go. You'll see here, hopefully you can see that you could either read it in Spanish, Espanol, or English. We're going to quickly go to English. We are on the Consulate's website for Nueva York. But if you just Google the consulate in your state, you'll get something that looks very similar. So what we want to go to is visas for foreigners, but this says Relaciones Exteriores. So exterior relations of Mexico. And I thought I picked English though. I did. Okay, visas for foreigners. And so it tells you for New York, effective October 2022, you must schedule an appointment before you can request a visa. Well, that was happening before then. To schedule an appointment, now you can call to schedule, or you can visit this website. It is not possible to schedule an appointment via email. Whenever there's a website, that should be your first line of defense, because I'm telling you, nobody wants to answer a phone anymore, and you may not be able to understand the person on the other end, even if they speak English. The accents, because they have to be bilingual to work in these offices, and so their accents could be extremely thick. So let's just quickly go down to the general requirements, and then I'm gonna go to the appointment website just so you can see it. So the general requirements: on the day of your appointment, you must present the following: a complete application. So you could download the PDF version in Spanish/English or English, excuse me. You need a valid passport. You need one photo, passport size, with white background in color without glasses. I had two, just in case. I said, listen, if they take my stuff to the back and end up losing my picture, I'll have another one ready to just bam, pull it out. I just was over prepared. You need the consular fee of $53 US, and depending on type of visa, please present the required documents. So we're just going to go to temporary resident visa. These are other types of visas that you can get for students. A permanent visa, usually permanent visas are only allowed for people who are of retirement age. They even if you meet the financial requirements, they tend to only give permanent resident to certain classes. So let's just look at the temporary residency, and then is this showing? Let me just make sure. Yep, it's pulled, it's there. So let's get back to that. Hold on a second. And it tells you temporary visa. Oh, did I do student? Did I pick students? Hold on, sorry. I thought I picked resident. Temporary visa. There we go. Yeah, here we go. Sorry. So this type of visa is for you if you want to live in Mexico for more than 180 days in less than 4 years, and you're not planning to be employed in Mexico. The general requirements: you need the application, I would say in English, unless you're fluent in Spanish, valid passport in original, and you need a photocopy. That's right. And take a color photocopy just to avoid any issues. Some places want color, some places want black and white. I mean, most places that have a problem will say it's not in color. So you want it in color. Your valid US visa and one photocopy if you have a visa versus, the passport. And then these forms usually don't apply to most of us. You need the one photo, passport size, with the white background in color without glasses, and the $53 fee. And then if you're going for economic, if you're trying to establish that you can be a resident based on your economics, that you won't be a drain on the country, you can get either an employment letter if you're planning to work remotely while living in Mexico. The letter must indicate that you have permission to work from abroad, or you can show that either your savings or your income will support you. So the last 6 months of pay stubs with a minimum income of now this is for this year, it's going to change next year, for $4,200 each month, or your last 12 months of bank statements with a minimum balance of $70,000 in it. Now, I will say this. They don't mention here that you can also use, if you have retirement, so if you have a 401k, 403b, brokerage account, stocks and stuff like that, that is all part of your banking statements. It's not just you go to your local bank and this is what I have in my savings. It's all of your assets, your money assets, not houses and all of that. But if you have stocks, if you have, you know, 401k, if you have pension is really for retiring, but that's included as well. You can also get married and to a Mexican and then apply for family unification. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I definitely think that yeah, we have 52 minutes. So I'm definitely going to come back and I'm truly looking forward to moving. Lisa W says, I'm truly looking forward to moving from the US, moving to Mexico. I will be here tomorrow. I am enjoying your lives. Oh, thank you. Listen, this keeps me motivated. If it's just one person that says that, I will continue. I want all of us to just know how sweet life can be. And I'm not just saying this because listen, I love New York in the summer times. I'm an outside type of girl. I love outdoor concerts. I love, Central Park has the summer stages. Harlem has Harlem Week. Then you have the Italian, and you'll find all of this on my channel too. You'll find the Feast of San Gennaro, the Italian food festival. The Italian food festival, like Oktoberfest. I love New York because it has so much diverse culture and you get to experience it, especially in the summertime, because every weekend there's something to do and even during the week. And so I absolutely love New York in the summertime, but I equally don't like it during cold winter months. And although my ultimate goal is to spend most of my time people do forget that I said this yesterday. People forget, hey, Divine Femme Energy, love that name, love that name. People do forget this is North America. And truth be told, up until I think it was like 1858, Texas, Arizona, most of California, and other states were literally Mexico. During some treaty exchange or something, the US ended up with those territories. But anyway, yes, Mexico is North America. It's, from what I understand, square footage wise, is larger than the US. So in North America, it's Canada, the US, and Mexico. And people tend to think, and I said this yesterday, so many people are like, oh, that's Central America or that's South America. No, it's not. It's North America. And so it's an easy landing for many. Now, I'm all for people who, can move to Ireland or move to, Amsterdam or move to Africa. At this point, I do have obligations here, and I need to be able to come back and forth. And that just makes it easier. And I do ultimately love Mexico. And there's so many parts of Mexico. There's something for everyone. And people don't know that. They hear the news, they get scared. And there's another video that I did, don't believe the lies. The lies are, thank you for sharing this info. Appreciate it. Oh, thank you so much, Julie. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm glad. Like I said, I'm on a mission. Since what happened last week happened, or 10 days ago, 10 days ago happened, I got to apply pressure on us. I definitely have to, stay committed, because we are only as free as our options. And people think, the comments I get, I'm going to do another video on some of the comments that people are saying, and some of them I hide, some of them I leave up, but oh, you should want to stay here and fight. This is our country. This is this, and our ancestors did this, but our ancestors also crossed the borders. Some of our ancestors ended up in Canada. Some of our ancestors ended up in Mexico. Some of our ancestors ended up in Paris. So it's not a one size fits all. And if you want to stay and do more fighting and whatever you think you need to do, I'm not forcing nobody. Like I say, yes, everything is not for everybody. And so, hold on. The lies are to keep us asleep. Amen. Amen. And that's how you notice how they stole the word woke and totally weaponized it, to make us all really afraid to stay woke. It's just hey, just saying. Yeah, all of this I'm saying is not because I'm guessing it, it's because I've experienced it. And I spent a lot of years working for multicultural, right? So I worked for the largest communications company that targeted Black women. And it's Essence, right? So saying all that to say, I know I know so many people that have already made this move way before any of this started, and they saw it. They had foresight, right? Um, and so I met people from across the globe, from our diaspora, who had already exited and had made beautiful lives abroad. I wasn't ready to do that, but I always appreciated people who had that type of tenacity and desire to realize that all that glitters here isn't gold. But I also worked with a lot of corporations and got to hear what some of them really think about Black people. And it is sad to be in the 21st century for us to still have to validate ourselves, as people. And our ancestors were everywhere, and we can go anywhere. Absolutely, absolutely. And again, if that's not where you're at, God bless you. But many of us aren't there because we don't know what's out there. And so my job is, for the next few weeks at least, but this channel was designed for that anyway. It was actually the name of the channel, you'll see some of the videos used to be called Black Travel and Culture, but a friend of mine's who works for Google basically tapped me on the shoulder because I guess she saw what was happening with channels that had Black in the title. And so she recommended that I rebranded. So it was always Black Travel and Culture. Hey, I'm Kim, AKA Kim with the Gem. So I just left off the Black Travel and Culture. That's still my brand on other social media platforms. So we have a community on TikTok. We have a community on Instagram. And Facebook. I have been kind of slow because they really have been suppressing over there. So I haven't been posting as much, but I'm going to build back up with that. Let's see what Kevin R. I've been to many countries as a veteran, so I know how better it can be in other countries. So I'm going to do me. So I appreciate. Oh, thank you so much. And you know what? My dad was too. And I mentioned yesterday or the day before, he loved Germany. Like, who knew? Like, he was stationed in Germany and he used to talk about it. He even taught us how to count. Eins, zwei, drei, vier. Like, he taught us from children how some, German words and, so yeah, definitely there is so much better out there. And that's why I want everybody who has a channel who can share these stories. I want to start hosting like live conversations where we just get together and I just need to formulate that. So I'm going to work on that next week on how during the lives we can all like get together and just each share our stories or answer questions for people who may have it, because our voice is needed so much more now than ever. Right now we still have the freedom to come on these platforms and share our experiences. We don't know how long that's going to last. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, Julie. I missed is the income requirement the same for retirees? That's pretty hot. No. So again, for retirees, it's not a monthly income. They're going to look at your overall assets. And so I don't have the retiree number. So I'm going to do a whole different video on what the 2025 numbers are, because it doesn't make sense to give it to you now because it's going to change. And if the cost of wages go up in Mexico, then that number is going to go up. And it has been going up. And there was something I wanted to share. It's definitely going to go up because I don't know if you guys have heard. Now, they didn't mention Mexico, but let me just tell you about the sheer numbers of people who are going on these immigration websites outside of the US trying to, oh, here it is. I don't think I could pull it up, but it said interest in moving to Canada spiked by 1,270% within 24 hours. And I can't say the word, but what happened on, that Tuesday, a couple, 10 days ago. um, Also, 25,000 US users in New Zealand's immigration website in one day. 25,000 users went to the immigration website of New Zealand, which is part of my, I think it's part of the 8 top places that people, it's on one of the videos that I did, so I'll link it. But 25,000. Then searches for New Zealand and Australia climbed 2,000% and 820% in 24 hours after 10 days ago. But it does say surveys say only 2.6% of Americans are actually going to make the move. Well, we don't know that because nothing like this has ever happened before. So we will see. I think the number may be quite higher. And again, they didn't mention anything about, let me pull up some. They didn't mention anything about Mexico. They didn't mention anything about Portugal. They didn't mention anything about Africa, any of these African countries. So I think those numbers are going to be higher. Okay, I read that. Yes, Kevin, perfect. And then somebody else. I went to the same consulate website here in Atlanta, and it's much, much cheaper. So yeah, so that's the other thing. When I do the recap video, there are certain cities that people literally fly into because the requirements are cheaper. I mean, the financial solvency requirements are less than what it is here in New York or maybe New Jersey, because they just opened a consulate in New Jersey. But retirees is different. I know people that have retired on, what is that when you are in the Social Security? Is it Social Security? Social Security for a couple $1,000s a month. So yeah, so I will do a recap. Yeah, Julie says check the consulate in your city and state. Definitely do that. But don't just check in your city and state. Check across the US because and I may do that. I may put together, or I may just find there may be a link that I might be able to find a link. I don't know if it's updated though, because like I said, I did this in 2022, 2023, and I have been consulting. The weird thing is, so I do consult for people who want to move to Mexico, are really serious about it. That's the only consulting I'm doing right now. And I'm only doing probably 10 for the rest of the year. But none of the people I consult, or 95% of the people I consult, don't look like us. It's so weird. Every client I get, except for a couple, they not like us. And I'll just leave it like that. And it's very interesting. So, that's why I'm trying to put Black back in listen, I'll consult with anybody. I'll help anybody, who is serious about making the move. But I really want us to become more serious. And the people that I saw that were getting denied, there were so many of us, let's just say that, but it was because they were not dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And I'll just, say that again. You have to dot the I's and cross it. You cannot give them a reason to not approve you. Now, while I was nervous about not being approved, I really shouldn't have been because I knew I dotted the I's and crossed the T's. I think I was nervous because my expectation was I was going to walk out with my visa in the New York office. And I mentioned in the other video, I think the only reason I didn't was because there was, a processing time. And when I went back to get my passport, there was a stack of passports like this that were ready to be picked up. And I think it was from that week prior. So I think just the sheer number of applications that they have to, finalize. I think that's what took so long. So I really didn't have a need to be nervous because I knew had everything. And you'll see in that video, my bag was so heavy. I had so much paper. I had from every bag. I had a bag that I think probably I forgot about, and it had a low amount of money. I threw that in there. I was just like, y'all are counting every nickel. So, but I know with retirees, because I met a few that have gotten their permanent residency, but they're fine. Oh, so we pulled up. Let me see real quick. I'm not going to pull it up if it's not there, but I do believe that because I pulled up temporary residency, right? And so let me see. Yeah. So, ooh, 6 months pay stub. No. Okay. So I'm going to pull this up real quick so you can see what the retirees say. Hopefully you're still there. Um, so I pulled up the requirements for retired individuals, and this is New York. This is New York. So for the last 12 months, I hope you see this right here. The last 12 months of bank statements or personal investments with an average balance of $280,000. So if you have a 401k, 403b, whatever, you really just need to show that you have a balance of 280,000, or the last 6 months of pay stubs or Social Security pension, 6 months showing that you have a minimum amount of 7,100 USD. So definitely much lower than financial solvency for temporary residents. For retired, I knew there was a much lower threshold from people that I met. So if you go on the website, instead of picking temporary resident, pick, what was the exact name? It was called permanent resident visa. That's what you're looking for. And like I said, they only really approve now. Some people have skated through, especially those who have stayed in Mexico past their visa and got approved under a certain condition. But definitely, if you're planning to go for permanent residency, you're supposed to be at least a certain age, and they start looking at you for permanent. I think it's like 59 and a half or something like that. Or the chances of you getting approved are greatly increased if you're at, that age. And so, oh, you're welcome, Julie. Yeah, so I will be back. Oh my gosh, I know it's an hour and this was such a great conversation. I will be back tomorrow. Please, if you're not subscribing, if you don't turn on your notification, check my community tab. I will post. It will be probably close around this time tomorrow because, of course, got to go to church. So I will post the time tomorrow, and you can sign, turn on the notification bell and know when I go live the rest of the week. And I will definitely when I do the video for Mexican residency, it probably won't be a live. I'll probably do a recorded one, and then we can come back live to discuss it or whatever, because I do want to make sure people have time to ask questions, just like, Julie brought up, and the requirements, and even my personal. And maybe I'll see if I could, bring somebody, because I, have a couple people that I'm friends with that got their residency, and they also have YouTube channels. So maybe we'll do a live that way. But I have a lot of things I'm working on. I'm so excited about this movement. There's many people that are in it now, joining it, people that are willing to share their stories. I give a lot of credit to Stephanie Perry, who, like I said, encouraged me, or not even encouraged me, brought light to me to think about boycotting winter, which started all of this, and I'm so glad that I did. So thank you so much for joining. I will see you guys tomorrow, whoever can join, but I will be back. So I will definitely be back live tomorrow. I'll definitely be back live on Monday. I will definitely be back live on Tuesday. I'm not sure about Wednesday, but we're going to keep this going until until, God says move on to something else. But right now, because I was going to go to, because this channel is also about wellness, and I truly believe right now we need to focus on that, because the winter's months are coming, and that's when all these bugs start, literal bugs start, coming around. And so we have to stay, you know, get our immunity up. And so hopefully I'll be able to get back to that. I don't know when. Right now, this is where I'm being directed. So we're going to continue with this for now. And then we'll move on to the health and wellness conversations later. But thank you guys. I want everyone to have a good night. And I will see you tomorrow. I'll see you Monday or Tuesday. But if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section. And I will get back to you guys as soon as I can. Have a great weekend. Have a happy Saturday.